Well, good morning, my beautiful coffee beans. We've got quite the lineup this Tuesday. Thank you for being here bright and early. We have a busy day today, so let's get into it. First, we're going to be starting out with an abduction, an Amber Alert out of the state of Florida. It ends with the child being recovered safely and a shootout with the suspect. We move over to the panhandle of Florida, where there's a manhunt underway right now for Isabel Johnson, $16,000 reward. Nobody knows where she's at this moment. We're trying to find her. Brian Koberger's latest appeal to the courts that he wants to toss or withdraw his plea deal. And of course, do we have a Monique and Spencer Tepe 2.0? Is the face blurred in the January 11th photo? We're going to get into all of that in this episode of the Bullhorn Betty Show. So welcome, grab your coffee,
Bullhorn Betty rocks.
Sit on down, get comfortable while we dive into these great topic points, but more importantly, trying to understand what's going on.
Coffee steaming, files on the table. We clocking early, hunt what's unstable. Bullhorn Betty on the curb, voice raised. Flip-flop queen with the homemade phrase. Notebook thick, got the screenshots flag. Names in red ink, every rumor, every tag. Late night live stream, screen glow on her face. Truth in her throat, got a lawman's pace. She don't blink when the threats roll through. Come see me, she says, if you think that's cute. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. We hunt bad guys till the sun comes up. From the front porch steps to the courthouse rug. We fighting for the ones that they gave up. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. Sip that truth from a styrofoam cup. From the quiet streets to the madhouse buzz. We ain't letting go till we get that justice. Insane Asylum, that's our crew nickname. Laugh so loud while we track these names. Whiteboard wild with the webs we spin. Pen to pen, see the pattern sink in. Turmo shaking when the case goes cold. We stir it back up, won't do what we're told. Doorstep question, side eye stare. Where were you that night? We hanging right there. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. We hunt bad guys till the sun comes up. From the front porch steps to the courthouse rug. We fighting for the ones that they gave up. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. Sip that truth from a styrofoam cup. From the quiet streets to the madhouse buzz. We ain't letting go till we get that justice. This for the faces on the milk cart labels. This for the families praying at tables. This for the names that the news won't say. We say them out loud every single day. Every day. If you're running in the dark, better feel that fear. Betty got a bullhorn right in your ear. Coffee club crazy, but we think so clear. One small town, whole world gonna hear. Hey! Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. We hunt bad guys till the sun comes up. From the front porch steps to the courthouse rug. We fighting for the ones that the day gave up. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. Sip that truth from a styrofoam cup. From the quiet streets to the madhouse buzz. We ain't letting go till we take credit.
Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's nice to see you. I don't expect to have a huge, panel today. We're coming hours and hours early. I tried to warn everybody for the last week that we're going to be starting our days back at the county, right? So if you guys know, I'm a political activist locally in my community. That means I go to our county meetings, our BOCC meetings, and I try to force our government to act like a government, not a philanthropist, not a tyrant, but government, right? And I believe government has a very specific role in our country, and anything over and above that is not the responsibility of the government. So I take those things to the board, and that's kind of where I position myself in most of my commentary. The first question I ask, is this the role of government? Is government supposed to be doing this? If the answer is no, I fight it. I don't care how good it is. I don't care if it's for the kids. I don't care if it's for the elderly. I don't care. Is this the role of government? Is this the role of government? We have enough stuff out there helping people, whether they work or not. We need to work on those programs that are out there to help people, not creating more programs and more red tape and more bureaucracy than we need in this country. So today's the day that I get out and advocate for my county and try to have the county, the community, the people's voice heard. We have a lot of activists in this community. We're very fortunate. So anyways, that's just where I'm going with it. But let's get started in our show and why we're here early. That's why we're here early. But let's go ahead and get started in our show. We have some gunky, funky stuff going on. Yesterday, there was an Amber Alert, and there was the person that took this teenager wanted to have a shootout. So Juliet Orioso was 13. She's safe. I want to read this because at the time that the gentleman was being transported to the hospital, it looks like he may have lost his life as a result of it. I don't think the officer was hit. I believe it was him, the suspect. So a Ocala teenager who was the suspect of a Florida Amber Alert Monday afternoon has been found safe, according to Marion County Sheriff's Office. FDLE and the Marion County Sheriff's Office had said Juliet Arioso, 13, was abducted from her home in the Shady Road Villa community of Ocala on Monday, between the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. At the time, detectives said she may have been in the company of Jason Castillo, 45. They believe they would be traveling in the 2021 Hyundai, and there he is. Around 5:20, deputies found the vehicle and tried to pull it over, though the suspect driver, identified as Castillo, refused to stop and fled, according to MCSO. In a release, investigators reported that a pit maneuver was used. It caused the vehicle to become disabled along U.S. Highway 441 near the intersection of County Road 25A. As deputies attempted to apprehend Castillo, shots were fired, the release reads. Castillo was transported to the hospital for treatment. Deputies later announced Castillo died at the hospital. Marion County Police Sheriff's Office confirmed that he was the ex-boyfriend of Arioso's mother. I wonder if he was abusing that child while he was dating the mother. Meanwhile, the MCSO spokesperson told News 6 that Arioso was in the car during the shooting but was not injured. As a result of the incident, all southbound lanes along U.S. Highway 441 near the incident remained closed at the time of this writing, deputies announced. So it was a very crazy situation, and this was one abduction that ended well. And my question was, what was he planning on doing with this girl? And I can't imagine that it was going to end well. So he wanted to hurt the mother. Now, possibly. Now, we might find out that he's been, essaying this child while he dated the mother. And, the mother found out. We don't know what the situation is. We haven't heard essay yet, but, we start hearing 45-year-old men kidnapping little girls. Well, in this society, in our day and age, at this point, I think our mind kind of goes right to the gutter of what could possibly a 45-year-old man possibly want with a little girl, So we don't intend for our heads to go to the gutter, right? That's not our focus. We're not trying. It's just that in our society, once upon a time when a child was missing, the last thing we thought was she was being abducted for, gratification for a sicko. Nowadays, we know better. We know better. I was shocked, kind of, sort of. I'm not shocked by anything anymore. I really am not. I'm just, it's hard to be shocked. But I was finally getting around to reading about the Seattle mass shooting. I heard about it. It's just, I don't really cover a whole lot of mass shootings on this channel. We do briefly cover them, but we don't follow them. We don't give people a platform for that kind of conduct. I feel that sometimes, media and even though we have freedom of press, I feel like sometimes by showcasing certain things, people get ideas to continue to do stuff. And I think that ever since Columbine and how people, as sick and twisted as some people are, I don't know, kind of like the Koberger, where he has like this fan club of people. And I think that was really, really disturbing. But by showcasing that Columbine case the way it was, I think that children that read about it and learn about it in school, it puts something in their brain. And I think that some of the activist teachers know that. And I think that our children are manipulated in school. And I think a lot of people have come to believe that and have removed their children from school and have started homeschooling their children again. I think that one thing that all of this political crap has done is forced some families to be traditional families again, in all fairness. I mean, moms are now having to stay home to take care of their children, to teach their children, to homeschool their children because they're being affected by the education they're getting by our government. Our government is worried more about their sexuality, which, why is any adult worried about a child they don't know and have nothing to do with sex life? I find that highly disturbing in a school. But that's not where we're going in this, but it might be. Why does a 15-year-old have this much hate in their heart? It's this is what I was talking about with Austin Drummond. At this point, parents should get a clue that their children are struggling or suffering, how they were able to get their hands on a firearm, how they were able to do this. This feels like we're going to find out that the parents are always talking about hate. They're probably got, I mean, I may be wrong about this, so don't beat me up too much, but I do believe that there is a direct result with education and parenting and why we have children picking up firearms and wanting to hurt people. Okay? I believe that's 100% attributed to their environment because I know that sweet little babies that come out of their mother's wombs are innocent. They have no hate in their eyes. They have no hate in their minds. They have no hate in their soul. They have no hate coming out of their mouth. They're babies. They're innocent. They're taught. So for a 15-year-old to be responsible for this, why? Because in my mind, the way my mind works, is he was put in positions where he is either being treated poorly, either at school, at home, both. He's being assaulted or hurt somehow, sexually or mentally or physically. Kids just don't turn out bad like this for no reason. Unless they have if they're mentally defect, right? If they have a mental defect. Then that might be a contributing factor. But children that have normal brain, that don't have mental health issues, that have problems with behavior and other things, that's society. That is that's where he's living. That's where the environment he's around. That is his school. Those are the people. So I don't know what has created this anger in such a young person. Is this something where we're going to find out this person is on hormone blockers or something like that? In documents filed in juvenile court where 15-year-old arrested in the case waives his initial appearance Monday, police say they believe there were at least 3 shooters rather than 2. So this is a group of people. How do you find a group of teenagers that are willing to execute people? And you're going to try to convince me that the parents don't know that these children are having behavioral issues? It angers me. And maybe it's just that I want somebody to blame. Maybe that's the reason. I'm trying to find somebody to blame. Because I truly believe that there should not be any reason. Listen, I was a messed up kid at 15. Messed up. Ask my mama. Ask my daddy. Ask my family. Messed up kid at 15. Out there. Problem child all over the place. Did I tell you about my 20s? Well, before we got the 20s, we had the teenage years. Okay? And I was hell on wheels. Never, not once, in all of the crap that I went through, all the crap I did to myself, all the crap that happened to me, never, not once did I ever think to go into my daddy's room, get his fire pistol, and go kaboom, kaboom, kaboom. Never, not once. Was I an angry teenager? Yeah. Did my parents not do what I wanted them to do? Yeah. Did I have problems? Was I running away from home? Yeah. Was I a problem child? Yeah. All of that. Never, not once did I ever say, ooh, I want to go hurt somebody. Now, we've done stupid shit like we were driving around and, there was this girl in a cute little dress in this one area with two boys, and we were just a lot of punk girls, and we got out of a car and, did some mischievous dealings, back. And I don't even think I was like 15 or 16 at the time, just trouble child, bull crap, right? Bull crap that if I found out somebody was doing, I'd bend them over my knees and beat their little rear end. And it's probably what I needed to have done to me too, right? I needed to have my little rear end tanned. But that's what I did, Nobody really got hurt. Did we hurt somebody? Yeah, we got into little fights here and there, right? So that, I guess there is some pain, but not like this. I didn't want to go hurt. I didn't want somebody going to the morgue. We knew that fighting would hurt people. We knew that if you stab somebody or shoot somebody, they're going to be dead. It's a permanent solution. We were taught to understand that. And I think that's one of the reasons why none of us ever really got too awfully violent. We did stupid stuff. We were mischievous. We were menacing. I can absolutely attest to that. But we weren't trying to take people to the morgue, especially strangers, innocent people. So, what would make kids decide that they want to hunt human beings? And that's what I feel like. They're out hunting human beings. What would turn children into human hunters of innocent people? I don't quite understand that. And I want to understand if we got parents that are hateful, that are instilling this crap into their children, and their children did this, I want them in jail. I want to know who the parents are. These are children, 15 years old. Now, granted, I understand unruly children, but I was an unruly child. But it didn't change the culpability or the ability of my parents being responsible for me. Thank God I didn't kill anybody, right? And I don't mean that like, pew pew. I mean like, getting in the car. As you guys know, I used to sneak out in the car when I'd had no license. There was a lot of damage that could have happened. Why I did that, I don't know. I didn't sneak out with friends. I just snuck out by myself. Some of the things I did, I look back on it. Why did I do it? Because I could. I think that was really the only reason I did it is because I could. I didn't want to stay there. I wanted to get in trouble. I wanted to know I could do something, right? I don't know. I really don't. I try to look back on those years and and try to figure out why I did some of the stuff I did. And I can honestly say I truly do not know. I have no earthly idea. I was, I guess I was screaming for help in a sense and just didn't realize it. But based on the evidence at the scene, investigators believe the 15-year-old and one of the deceased engaged in a gunfight with at least one other unknown suspect, documents said. The judge ordered the teen held in juvenile detention for investigation of firearms violation and first-degree assault. That's I feel bad, kind of, sort of, but I don't know how to feel about this because I don't know how. I don't know. Should we be mad at the parents? Should we not? Let's read this. A 15-year-old suspect was detained and booked on accusations of firearm violations and first-degree assault after the shooting at Bite of Seattle Festival on Monday, July 27th. 3 victims, 19, 40, and 56, were killed, with 2 dying at the scene and 1 at the hospital. The deceased 19-year-old was initially detained in connection with the shooting, according to NBC. A 15-year-old who opened fire in a crowd at the Bite of Seattle Festival is now in police custody, according to a press conference of July 27th. Seattle Police Department detained a 15-year-old juvenile in connection with the shooting. It sounds like one of the shooters, 19. So it sounds like a fight. I thought this was presented as a mass shooting, like they were shooting at the people. But this is sounding like a gunfight between punks. Wilson, 44, the teen was booked into Judge Patricia Clark Children and Family Justice Center for investigation for firearms violation and first-degree assault. Wilson said authorities currently believe the teenager opened fire in the crowd, but details are still under investigation. That's what I heard. He opened fire in the crowd. Okay. His first court appearance is on Monday, but it's still very unclear. Does anybody know what truly happened out here? Was he gunning for innocent people, or did he have an altercation with another person and they have a shootout right in the middle of the festival? Because it's starting to feel like this was an altercation that ended up being a shootout in the middle of the festival versus some teenager just walking up there with an AK and opening fire. You know? I drive the car. Hold on, let me read what this says. Good morning, guys, by the way. Come on in. Come on in. It's nice to see you. I don't even think I said good morning to everybody. Melanie, Jenny, it's nice to see you. Alicia, Weather Junkie, good morning. Thank you so much. Melanie says, happy Tuesday, Betty, Delilah, mods and chat. Yeah, BHB, I like you no matter what time you go live, unless it's really, really early, like 2, 3, 4, etc. Then I'm not up. Sending love to you, BHB, and everyone. Thank you so much. Back on track with Kat. It's nice to see you. Recon Elite. It's nice to see you. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Mama, it's nice to see you. Lisa, good morning. Arizona Raven. It's nice to see you. Lady Ray, good morning. True Crime Junkie. Oh, we got some of the family here, Deanna. Good. It's nice to see you. You guys are up early. I love that. Veronica, it's nice to see you as well. Eeyore Blues, Jeff, good morning. It's nice to see you. I hope you're doing well this AM. Danielle, good morning, good morning. Is there anybody else I missed so far? Lily, little Annie, Joel, it's nice to see you. Sonia, beautiful Sonia, always up, bright and early. It's nice to see you, love. Patricia, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Did I say hi to Annie? Good morning, guys. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. So, I don't know, guys. It seems like this was a gunfight between teenagers. Teenagers with guns, which they shouldn't have it. I want to know why this 15-year-old was carrying a firearm. A 15-year-old has no reason to have a firearm on them. Why in the world is a 15-year-old opening fire at a pizza, I don't know what it's called, event, whatever it is. I don't know what it's called. Anyways, that was just updates for all the other stuff. So now we're kind of getting into a little more formal updates on cases we've been covering. As you know, there is a multi-state manhunt underway right now for Isabel Rose Johnson. She is accused of murdering, and it's graphic, guys. I heard some horrible stuff. Hey, real alien, it's nice to see you, love. I hope you're doing well. We don't know why, but it sounds like she attacked Jason and strangled him with zip ties. That's pretty up close and personal. That's pretty brutal. To be able to do that to somebody and watch the life literally go out of them in such a brutal way, not, kaboom and, it's all over with. Like, for somebody to be asphyxiated to death, you're talking about several minutes of struggling and watching that person fight for their life. It takes a pretty heartless being to be able to stomach watching somebody struggle like that. And then being able to put them in concrete, bury them in a shallow grave, try to act like they never even existed at all. It's bizarre to me. It's bizarre how people brains think. But either way, she's on the run. There's a $16,000 reward for her. She goes by a lot of different aliases. She is a master of disguise. She is a master manipulator. But the one thing that she cannot deny and she cannot cover up is all these tattoos. So the only way she is not going to be identified is if she's able to cover up these tattoos on her hands, on her thighs, on her legs, or wear stuff that covers it all up. But at some point, she's going to have to try to make some money. And I'm sorry, I kind of believe that these tattoos are going to come back to haunt her. Now, how is she able to elude authorities? Well, one way is being still when everybody thinks you're moving. That is one thing. Looks more like a thin fabric. What does? But I will tell you, in my opinion, we did a poll. People believe she was still here in Florida. We need to find out where she lived the longest. And I think where she lived the longest is in Georgia. I don't think she was born here. I've got the whole dossier on her. Let me see what we got here. Hold on. Let me just look in the file real quick. Pretty sure I've got something on her. Because if I recall, with Jason, I think I pulled reports on everybody in jail, everybody. Let me see if I got, there's Bobby, Kathleen, Martin, Michael, Sandra, Isabel. There's Isabel. Yeah, she definitely lived at that Sunset Lane property where it was 130. She's got an extensive criminal background, a lot of controlled substance, burglary in the third degree, probation violations, probation revocations, mischief, criminal mischief, drugs, theft, driving while license is suspended, drug paraphernalia, grand theft, more than 750, less than 5,000. I mean, she's got misdemeanors, driving while license is suspended. Just a lot of different things. It's a criminal. I mean, just a litany, like pages and pages of these things. She has no assets, obviously, because she's a drug addict. So Jessica Dowdy. So she's even got a background report for Jessica Dowdy, which is one of her aliases. That's insanity. She's been good. She's been at this for a really long time. And it looks like the last time she was employed was in 2010. Where's her addresses? So there's the addresses. That's right, because I don't have anything from in this report. They kept saying she has ties to Georgia, and it must be through family, because the places where she stayed, she's only stayed here in Florida and Alabama. I pulled up on her. Now, granted, this is a background report that's not, I'm not running this through a private investigator, which might have more of a thorough, but it looks like Huntsville and Hazel Green, Alabama is really where she's spent a lot of time. It's what's all in her report, but I haven't ran reports on her aliases. Clearly, one of her aliases, came up in the report. So we have one of the aliases, Jessica Dowdy. She has a report under Jessica Dowdy. So I wonder how many of these aliases she actually has a report on. That would be pretty interesting. That would be really, really interesting. So I just wanted to show you guys. She's got a lot of little tattoos that are now being, one on her hand, one on her ankle. You can see the one on her thigh. This looks like she's on the run and dirty, but it could just be the screen door. It just seems like they're following her. And this looks like it's a Ring doorbell camera photo of her on the run while she's walking. So she might be getting help. She might be on foot, but I'm sorry, guys. Women like this that are, in this lifestyle, they could find a lot of help everywhere, because you got the bikers, you've got the big rigs, you've got a lot of resources out there on the streets with her looks and habits. I'm sorry, it is what it is. I'm just giving you like kind of the real. And then this is her in the
Birds from Wong County wanted in connection.
Their family. Help.
Around 100, and
No,
they're
I thought
working
they were
with
gonna
federal
have-
case and are
There it is.
determined to bring
Yeah.
John.
Or just has connections to those. A lot of help and a lot of support from them as well.
there it is. I wanted you
Authorities
guys
say
to
they've
see
been
it.
working non-stop on this case and are determined to bring Johnson to justice. In Walton County, Emily Clegg, News Channel 7.
I have to believe that they told us that they believe that this lady is in, that she had made it to Athens, Georgia. Again, just their belief. They had nothing. I didn't see anything that supported. Yes, lot lizards. Yes, exactly. But she has a lot of resources, especially with her looks, her body type, her substance. Like, she's a party girl, so she can fit in a lot of dark holes in this. In Florida, first and foremost, but Georgia, I'm not familiar with Georgia. I'm not familiar with Alabama. I'm only familiar with Florida. This is where I've spent my entire life, right? And I was born, 15 minutes from my house. So this, I have common knowledge of this, right? But I don't really have common knowledge of, I'd have to think that because back in my day when we went to Georgia, it was a Bible thumping, state, and so they had dry counties. Like, there was no alcohol sold at all. I know that that's significantly changed over the last 20, 30 years, but back when I was growing up, a lot of my family's from Georgia, and they lived in Fitzgerald, Georgia. And if you're from Georgia and Fitzgerald, Georgia, it's a speck on the map. They literally had one flashy light in the whole town for my whole entire childhood. Like, the place was small. Like, it took you a half an hour to an hour to get down to your next neighbor. I mean, it was just in the middle of nowhere. But I don't know where the hole in the walls would be in Georgia. I don't know, like in Athens, Georgia, where those would be. I was in Fitzgerald. That was the extent of the time I've spent in there. Now, granted, I've been to Georgia to cover several cases, but it's not like I'm familiar with, their hole in the walls. I'm not familiar with their underbelly of society. When I walk into places, once upon a time, I could walk into places and they knew I was one of them. But now, I'm a much different person, and I wear that. Like, I can't go and try to be like, under the radar. I just don't have that demeanor anymore, and it's crazy that when you have it, you have it. When you don't, you don't, and people can see it. People know. So there is a $16,000 reward being had. I don't know if she's in Georgia. I don't know if she's in Alabama, and I don't know if she's hunkering down here in Florida. But it seems like she had a lot of support here in Florida, and if she has that kind of support in another place, well, by God, then she's going to be doing good. We've got some problems here, but she needs to be taken off the streets as soon as possible, as soon as humanly possible. So I'm going to go ahead and play. Is this? I don't know how long that one is. All right, we'll play this one from the beginning, and I'll be right back.
We're continuing our coverage of the search for 38-year-old Isabel Johnson, the prime suspect. Death of Jason Coulthard.
News Channel 7's Emily Clegg spoke with the Walton County Sheriff's Office today and has the latest.
We're going to get you. There's no question. We'll find you.
Strong words from Walton County investigators, and now increased reward money after a nearly month-long search for suspect Isabel Johnson.
You're going to be held accountable for what you've done.
Up to $16,000 is being offered for information leading to the arrest of Johnson. Investigators say she is wanted in connection to the murder of Jason Coulthard. His remains were found in a shallow grave in Freeport in June.
A friend, a brother, a sibling, a son was taken from their family. And so what we do with that is we use that as motivation.
Law enforcement arrested 5 people for allegedly assisting Johnson in evading arrest.
Giving rides, providing money, cell phones, things like that to help her, we're going to say prior to, during, and after, and continuing potentially to provide her some support while she's continuing to evade us.
And she's still on the run.
I want the public to be aware of, if you encounter anybody that is seeking some sort of help, seeking a ride, seeking money, seeking, can I use your phone? Be cautious of that.
The Walton County Sheriff's Office describes Johnson as a white woman, about 5'3", around 120 pounds, with brown hair that may be dyed. They say she has tattoos on her hand and ankle.
Her appearance tends to change depending on where she is and what she's doing.
Investigators say she's been moving around Alabama, Georgia, and Florida, and they're working with federal and local partners to track her.
Seems to me they need the U.S. Marshals. The U.S. Marshals. Reach out to the U.S. Marshals. I don't know what they have, but it seems like no matter where you are, they'll hunt you down like the rabid dog that you are. All right, guys. So that kind of rounds us out for just the breaking news and updated news. We're going to be going into just a little bit with Bryan Kohberger because we're learning, and this is shocking. I mean, many people believe when you agree to a plea deal, you waive your rights to trial. And I try to caution people about that misconception all the time, because at the end of the day, there's nothing that precludes you from reaching out to a court to ask them for anything. So it doesn't mean that they're going to get it, but they do have a right to ask. Now, as we know, the Idaho 4 was a disturbing case. It was a case of 4 University of Idaho students being slaughtered inside their home as they slept. The details of the case is highly disturbing. Bryan Kohberger, learning about him, how many times he was at the house before the murders, him showing up at the house shortly after the murders the next morning at 9 a.m. It was just a little off-putting. What we learned about him is scary. It seems to me he had set out to do this before he ever even selected Washington State University. I truly believe he selected that university because it was the furthest university from his home. There were other programs less expensive and more involved in the criminology program than Washington State, yet he chose not to look at those courses that would have put him much closer to home. I truly believe that was by design. He murdered Kaylee Gonzalez, Maddie Mogan, Xander Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin inside their home while they slept. He confessed to the crime. They had a litany of evidence against him. The family wanted the death penalty. The family wanted the court. The families wanted the court. They wanted the jury. They wanted to hear the details. They were robbed of all of that. When Brian entered into the plea deal, he took the death penalty off the table. He confessed to the crime, and he was sentenced to life in prison, 4 consecutive life in prison sentences. But now, he doesn't know what to do with himself. He's in there. He's never been confined like a rabid dog to a cage. Well, he is now. His everyday life is boring. It's the same. He gets up. He looks at 4 walls. He stares and waits for his food. He waits to be told he can be let out. He waits to be told whether he has an hour, a minute, 2 minutes, or he's staying in for the day. This is his everyday life, and he says he was misled. Maybe he thought that he was going to get the Met Spa as a sentencing, but that's not where we send animals. We send animals to jail, and his cage looks pretty nice. It's a lot nicer than I would want for him. It's a lot more roomy than I'd want for him. Look at that room he's got. He's got so much room. That looks like my office. The size of my office. That's pretty good space. I think his room should be half that. Just my opinion. I think it should be half that. He is an animal. He is an animal. So now he wants to withdraw his plea deal so he can go to court, so he can go and have he's now innocent again. He went from being innocent and stargazing to being guilty and in prison. Now he's saying, I was misled. I was forced into this. Now you're talking about Brian Kohberger, the smartest guy in the room. And you're trying to convince me that he didn't understand what was going on, that he didn't aid in his prosecution, that he didn't drag this out until the final hour when he was going to finally have to put on his defense and he had none. And he cowardly hid behind a plea deal and never had to allocute because the prosecuting attorney, Bill Thompson, is a joke. He's a joke. He's an old kook. Needs to be gone out to the pasture. Hopefully he's out to pasture now, retired. Hopefully. Hopefully, but who knows? So we are learning that he wants to now say he's not guilty and he wants a new trial. Let's listen to this. Let me put this up. This is...
I hereby sentence Mr. Kohberger as follows. On count 1, burglary, 10 years fixed, 0 years indeterminate. I also impose a fine of $50,000. Count 2, first-degree murder of Madison Mogan. I sentence the defendant to a fixed term of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, a fine of $50,000, and a civil penalty of $5,000 payable to the family of the victim. On count 3, for first-degree murder of Kaylee Gonsalves, I sentenced the defendant to a fixed term of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, a fine of $50,000, and a civil penalty of $5,000 payable to the victim of the family, or to the family of the victim, pardon me. On count 4, for the first-degree murder of Xana Kernodle, I sentenced the defendant to a fixed term of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, a fine of $50,000, and a civil penalty of $5,000 payable to the family of the victim. On count 5, for the first-degree murder of Ethan Chapin, I sentenced the defendant to a fixed term of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, a fine of $50,000, and a civil penalty of $5,000 payable to the family of the victim. The sentences on counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 shall run consecutively to one another. Restitution will be left open for 60 days. Defendant will be required to submit a DNA sample and a right thumb print impression to the Department of Corrections and comply with the DNA Database Act. I remand the defendant to the custody of the Idaho State Board of Corrections for to be imprisoned in an appropriate facility and execution of the sentence where he will remain until he dies.
All right, so here is the document. Big shout out to Miss Sonia. Thank you for getting this over to me. I truly do appreciate it. However, I am going to have to put my glasses on at this point because I can't read worth a crap without them. It is hereby declared that during attorney-client discussion, most of which included all members of Brian C. Kohberger's immediate family, petitioner was convinced to falsely confess to capital murder and felony burglary by coercion, disinformation, false promises, and the withholding of exculpatory discovery. The following is material to the inception of the plea. Counsel's failure to inform petitioner of exculpatory discovery received during plea discussions, namely clumps of unknown hair found in Ethan Chapin's hands, as well as failure of further inquiry. Petitioner was convinced that actual guilt was not an important factor in considering plea acceptance. Death row was imminent and advised to lie. Petitioner was to gain a legal victory in entering a false plea. A gross misrepresentation of and promises regarding what a life sentence would immediately afford petitioner, and a gross misrepresentation of death row in Idaho, including an elaborate fabricated story of counsel's horrific experience touring an actual 8x8 death row cell, all communicated to petitioner with his family, allegedly by IDOC, through counsel, thus constituting threats and promises made to induce a plea agreement. Further, your affiant saith not. Brian C. Kohberger. One thing I noticed is look how impeccable his handwriting is. Look how impeccable his handwriting is. Perfectly, most doctors and guys, one thing about guy handwriting is it sucks, typically. Very, very seldom do we have a man that has this clear of handwriting. It's a guy thing. How many guys do I have in my chat this early in the morning? Probably not many, but if I do have a guy, please let me know how well your handwriting is. If you're on the replay crew, write it in the comments. Write it in the comments. He's going to represent himself. Yeah. I hope they shut that down right away. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, folks. I really don't. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, though. right? That's the one bad thing, is I don't have a crystal ball on, what his rights are, what to expect, or anything like that. I don't know. I really just don't know. But in my opinion, even if they give him a hearing for this, even if he has to show up for court, which I hope that they do the court thing by video, he's in jail, and if he's representing himself, I don't see why anybody has to show up in person. This day and age, we can definitely have, video, Zoom hearing on this to keep him in jail, because I don't want him thinking that every time he throws a temper tantrum, he gets to get out of his cell and gets to be front and center in everybody's mind again. That's one thing I really don't want to see happen. But we have no control over it. I'm not that powerful of a person. Sometimes I wish I was, but I'm just not. And the courts are handled differently from state to state. So what's going to be the protocol for this? I really don't know. But very, very interesting. This whole withdrawal of the plea deal due to coercion of his attorney.
Convicted killer Brian Kohberger says he wants to withdraw his guilty plea in the 2022 murder of 4 University of Idaho students. Stephanie Goss joins us now in studio. And Stephanie, he's already been convicted. So what happens now?
Yeah, so he wants to withdraw that plea and he wants to go to trial. Remember, that trial never happened. And in court documents, Kohberger says he is innocent and had ineffective counsel that advised him to lie and confess in order to avoid the death penalty in exchange for a life sentence. Legal experts we talked to say his chances of getting that trial are slim. In a hearing last summer, the judge asked Kohberger multiple times if he was guilty of killing the University of Idaho students, and he said he was. So tonight, the family of one of the victims, Kaylee Gonsalves, called Kohberger the mosquito you just can't seem to swat. They also suggested, Tom, that he might be doing all of this to get back in the spotlight.
Yeah, they might have a point. Okay, Stephanie, we thank you for that.
So do I believe
feel compelled
that?
to have to come out and clean up and correct some of the statements.
Okay, well, we already got that one. Yep, and here's the family. They're coming out. They've been very strong. Again, I can't imagine this going on. It's got to be very, very difficult for the family to be dealing with all this. At the end of the day, they got to deal with this. Steve Gonsalves, whose daughter Kaylee, one of the 4 college students Brian Kohberger confessed to murdering, is responding to the conviction's claim that he's actually innocent. The father of one of the 4 university of students was stabbed to death inside the off-campus home in November 2022 is responding to recent claims of innocence made by Brian Kohberger. Steve stated, "It's not a surprise by Kohberger's claim reference to him being the mosquito you can't seem to swat." He also made it clear that he is not concerned if Kohberger's request for a new trial is granted by the judge. Regardless of how it turns out, our family is 100% ready. An actual trial this time, let's go, Steve said. We are confident he will get the death penalty and that he escaped by pleading guilty the first time around. So, obviously Steve Gonsalves, he wants the trial. He wants the conviction. He wants the death penalty conviction. He wants this monster to go straight to hell and never come up for air. That's Steve Gonsalves. And just talking about him, it just gives me goosebumps. Anything to do with Kaylee's family, I don't know what it is, but it gives me goosebumps. Look at that. My hair is standing up on my arm right now. It just gives me goosebumps. It's incredibly sad. It's incredibly sad. But that's not why all of you guys are here. All of you guys are here about our conversation related to Nancy Guthrie. Nancy Guthrie is an 84-year-old grandmother and mother. She was ripped out of her bed in the middle of the night by a masked gunman. But here's the kicker. That wasn't the first time the masked gunman was at the house. We have this photo by the FBI. And there's just something very interesting about the photo, and we can't quite, put our finger on it. So we keep looking at it. We learned that this photo had a toolbox or tool bag. The gentleman is wearing a toolbox or tool bag. And I remember saying, I can tell you that it looks like the same jacket, but I cannot confirm that it's the same shoes or the same pants. I can't confirm that it's even the same face mask. And I remember saying that. I can't confirm that it's the same, ski mask that he wore in the second trip, because it seems like he came ultra prepared the next time. He had a gun. He had a holster for that gun. He had a backpack. That backpack was full. He had a mask. But there's something about his bleached out face that I said, that's what made me say, I can't even tell if he's wearing the same mask because of the distortion. And then there was something that somebody sent me, and it was these photos here. And whoever sent those know who sent those to me. But there was these photos here of a man, because I couldn't see it. And then when you put these photos up and you see the nose and the lips, you kind of see the nose and the lips over on the one that was released by the feds. And it brought me back to the Tepe case, ironically, from Columbus, Ohio. And it was when we were looking at the video in the alley of the subject. And I blew up the face, and I'm like, the FBI put lines in the face. You could clearly see the perfect lines to distort the face, because they're getting clever of all the tools that we out here in the public are starting to use to clear up images, to really hone in on certain aspects of these videos, and the quality of videos is starting to be exceptionally well. The cameras that are coming out, and they're not, compared to what it was, remember once upon a time to like even 20 years ago, to put cameras around your house, you were expending thousands of dollars. Thousands. And that was just for the equipment and the hard drive. That wasn't even for the installation of a professional. And if you were going to do it yourself, you're talking about, an entire weekend or longer to get it all hooked up and installed if you were doing it yourself. It was very, very time consuming and a very expensive process. Just, even a few short years ago, 10 years ago. These things were highly expensive. And it wasn't just necessarily the cameras, but it was the hard drives. The hard drives were very, very expensive. Like a hard drive to hold even a day or 2 days is highly expensive, because, video takes up a lot of data. It takes up a lot of space to run consistent, nonstop video. Okay, so you need large drives. These the drives need to be large. And if you guys recall, just a few short years ago, it was phenomenally expensive to have large drives. Now it's kind of a commonplace. And then all of a sudden they move from that to this cloud-based service now. So everybody has to pay a monthly fee and so now you're going to start seeing them build smaller and smaller computers with less storage, because they want you to pay for this cloud storage. So you're going to start seeing them move toward that angle, just to nickel and dime you to death, right? But at the end of the day, those things were expensive, and the quality of the camera was not that good. This day and age, you can buy an entire system for few $100. You can install it yourself if you so choose, and you're going to be probably looking about $1,000, $1,500 to $2,000 to have it installed by a licensed electrician, right? To get it hooked up just right and whatnot like that. So you will, if you don't want to do it yourself, you're going to have a nice little price tag to have it hooked up by a professional, depending on how you choose to hook it up, right? If you run it through your attic, you're looking at probably the higher of the bit. If you're going to be putting out, tubing around your house, and it's going to be easy, just pull wire through the tubing and set it up on the exterior of the home. It's less appealing. I mean, I prefer not having tubes all over the house, running up and down the walls. For the cameras, I prefer it being in the attic, which costs more, right? But if you wanted something simple and something, and you didn't mind the lines, maybe you would put it up under your, your grates, whatever those are called. I can't remember what they're called, but your fascia and your soffit, whatever stuff up there. So, but nowadays we're having crystal clear footage, even in nighttime vision, which is amazing. We should be very fortunate and thankful. I think we take our cameras for granted, the night vision and stuff like that. But I want to bring up to you, if I got it here, where is it? Is it this one? Where is my, is it this one? Yeah, here it is. Here it is. It's this. Guys, remember this? I know some of you guys do. But here's Michael McKee. Now, Michael McKee is the ex-husband of Monique Tepe. Her husband, Spencer, and her were sleeping in her bed, and her ex-husband, from 8 years prior, found her, murdered her and her husband while they slept, while their two beautiful children and the family dog were just feet away, right, in another room. But it looks like he even took the dog and put the dog in a room so the dog would not. But when we got this video, this Nest video, I'm like, ooh, I bet you if we could probably do some, highlights, lowlights, and pull an image, so I started putting it into my photo program, and I started, changing the lighting, the highlights and lowlights and shadows, and started brightening and pulling, trying to pull the face up to the surface so I could see, maybe get an image of who this person is. And you could clearly see lines through the face. You can't see them from this distance right here, but when you go to blow up, there's lines through his face. They distorted his image. That means that the FBI had already blown this up and already saw an image, and they must have seen Michael's face in the image. And so they put lines through it, so when we blew it up, we couldn't see it. It would be distorted. And when it's scrunched down like this, when it's small like this, it just looks like a blurry face. But when you put it in enhancement software, you can clearly see the lines through the face. Perfect slashes through this face. And I'm like, that didn't come from the Nest camera. They did that. So then, so whenever I got this email from one of our audience members related to the Nancy Guthrie case, and this image from January 11th, I started thinking to myself, because this was released by the FBI, if I'm not mistaken. This might have been released by the law enforcement body, but I think this was garnered by the FBI. I don't know why, but if I remember correctly, I remember saying I think the FBI. I didn't say the Columbus County Sheriff's Department or Sheriff's Office, right? I said the FBI, and at the end of the day, I think that they did it again. And I think they did it in Nancy Guthrie's case. So my question is, does the FBI know what this guy looks like? The assailant for Miss Nancy Guthrie, do they know what this guy looks like? Because as you see behind me, When you look at this image and then you start looking over here at the original image released by the FBI, you can almost kind of see the bill now. And it's like, wait a minute. Did this guy come to her house and not have a covering over his face? Do they know what the assailant may look like? Did they see him here? Is that shadow right there an actual mustache? Not the bridge of his nose. I don't know. But it sure does make you wonder. It sure does make you wonder. So we're going to step back just a few moments. I'm going to take a 10-minute. I don't even know if we need to take a 10-minute. Yeah, I think we do. At least, I don't think we're going to do the whole full 10-minute video, but we're going to go back to the beginning because I think it's important. Sorry about that. I was moving the video back where it needed to be. It froze up my face. But I think we need to see it. It's about the statement that Savannah gave yesterday or the day before yesterday. I think it's important that we hear it. And just a reminder, guys, I know we started our live early and I anticipate many people coming here on a replay crew. This is a reminder to please hit that thumb up button. And don't forget to share it. When I come early, these earlier lives get lower viewership to them, and we need just as much support on these earlier shows as we do during the week, okay? Especially these earlier shows because I'm working my ass off on today, right? I've been up since 4 o'clock this morning. I'm fully ready. I've got to go to a meeting. I'm going to be in a meeting all day today. And then when I'm done with that meeting, I still got to come back here and do another live this afternoon. This is going to eliminate all of our videos. Any of our breaking news is going to be put on the back burner until tomorrow. So we need as much support and help as possible. So please don't forget to share this around. Oh, thank you, Lori. I appreciate you. Lori. And don't forget, the biggest thing you can do is hit that thumbs up button. So this is just your friendly reminder. And if you still have a hype the show. We've covered a lot of cases today. We covered a scary Amber Alert out of Florida, just in Ocala. That's where I'm going to be moving, you know? And the girl was recovered safely, but there was a shootout with a suspect that kidnapped her. And the kidnapper was her mom's boyfriend. And it makes us wonder what the hell he was doing to her inside that home. Because I'm sorry, our minds go straight to the gutter when we hear a 40-something-year-old man kidnapping a little girl. Why? And if it truly was to punish the mother, that girl was in major danger. She could have lost her life. She was in the vehicle when they did the pit maneuver. I can't imagine how scary that must have been for that little girl. I really can't. But just to go back, and then we went through the suspect. We have a suspect, a manhunt underway for Isabel Johnson. And this is a serious lady. This lady committed homicide brutally. A grown-ass man. Guys, I would not be playing with this little girl. She's a murderer, and she's violent, and she knows how to carry herself. So we need to get her off the street before she carries herself to another homicide.
So there is breaking news right now. Breaking news. Savannah Guthrie has broke her silence once again, speaking to the abductors.
Great question, Corey. I'm still wondering what happened to Summer Wells. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Savannah.
She is begging for her mom. She's telling the world she's done everything she can. And I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but I don't think they have, nor do I think law enforcement has done everything that they can do to bring Miss Nancy Guthrie home. So right now, Miss Savannah Guthrie has made this statement. Check this out.
I'm coming on today with a very specific message. It has been months since our mom was taken from us. Our family is in agony We are in a nightmare that will not end. Nothing about our situation has changed. We have done our part, and we will never stop looking for her. We will always ache for her and feel that hole in our hearts. The world can be a cruel and unforgiving place, and I know that you have tried to do things the right way. So I'm asking you, begging you, to do the right thing now. Make the right choice. Help us find her. Tell us where to look for her. I truly believe it is never too late to do the right thing. Help us bring this situation to an end. For all of us, no matter where we've been and what we've done, I believe there is always a way home. Please make the right choice.
So, as you guys heard her plea once again, my understanding is she let law enforcement know she was putting that video out. It doesn't sound like they worked with her. It sounds like she just informed them of what she was going to do and got the okay to do it. That's my understanding. I could be totally wrong about that. There were a few things. It feels like she's speaking directly to someone. Now, is she speaking to just a vague abductor that she's just speaking to, or does she know now who she's speaking to? I don't know the answer to that. Now, I don't believe that this is the exact mimic or replica of what we're seeing over in the Porch Guy's original photo from January 11th. But what I can say is something always looked off about that. And the more that we look at that photo of January 11th, the more we're realizing something more, right? The tool pouch, that was a big hurdle. Now it's this. Whenever I look at that photo, I can almost see the hat on top of his head now versus a mask over his face. So this is starting to, to morph into something more. Again, I always thought he went to that house on the 11th. Now, granted, I didn't think it at the beginning. I didn't know what it meant at the beginning. I just kept looking at this case and looking at this case and trying to make sense of this case. And finally, the light bulb went off, and it dawned on me that if this is a burglary, the burglary was the 11th. And it came to me after I realized that he had a tool pouch or toolbox in his hand. When I saw that in his hand, then it dawned on me, wait a minute. Now that looks like burglary tools. This looks like a burglary. But it was on the 11th. And like I said, I believe he went into that house. And I believe he stood over Nancy Guthrie on January 11th. And she was sleeping and had no earthly idea he was even there. And he probably had already been through the house and probably made some noise and then walks into the room and sees a sleeping lady. It probably startled him a little bit. He may have left the resident without taking anything because he was startled by her presence in the bed. Because where's the first place a burglar is going to go? I'm sorry, if you're burglarizing a home, you're going to the master bedroom. That's like literally the first place you're going to go. You're going to go to the master bedroom. You're going to go to the master bedroom before you go to the office. But the office, if they have an office in the house, would be your next place you go. Because your bedroom has your jewelry and or safe and money, because people want to know those types of things are close to them. Or they're going to be in an office, in a safe, in a built-in safe somewhere, right? One of the pictures, in my opinion, looked like he was wearing glasses. Might be Riley Rue. Hey, Andrea, it's nice to see you, love. I hope you're doing well. With all your little, you're so cute. You're just a doll. I got to tell you, I love your content. You know what? Every time I see you pop up on my Facebook, I just smile. I just smile. You're a doll. It's nice to see you, love. But, I keep looking at this and I'm like, he was not prepared on the 11th. He was prepared on the 1st. He was not prepared on the 11th. And think about what he came back with. He came back with a new holster, a new backpack, and it looked like a new ski mask. All found where? At Walmart. It's as if the guy's like, oh, let me get out of this house. And he leaves the house. He probably is in the community doing work. Drove by the house, realized no officers were there the next day. I bet you if they go and try to do a search for the 11th or the 12th or the 13th, I bet you they'll find out this guy came back by the property probably earlier in the morning. Just like Brian Koberger did, probably by 9 or before 9, to check out to see if any officers were there to report his crime that night. He probably realized nothing happened. When he went back, I don't think robbery or burglary was his motivation. So what was his motivation? Did this guy F up and go to that house without covering his face on the 11th? I'm starting to believe he did. I'm starting to believe he did. As crazy as that sounds, I'm really starting to believe he did. So we learned from, just in the last day, not to take away from the breaking news information of Savannah reaching out and trying to plead with the assailant. I would like, before we go over to this topic of blurring the face, I would like to talk about the statement she made. Because we truly do not know why this happened. I mean, we're speculating. I feel like I'm right about the speculation, but I'm a reasonable person and I know that I could be 100% wrong, okay? I'm a reasonable person with a good brain on my shoulders, okay? So I'm absolutely confident that if I'm wrong, that that it's completely purely possible. We'll leave it at that, right? We'll leave it at that. But because we don't know who did this, and because there is multiple theories, let's go over the theories that I do have. I believe that there was multiple assailants. That means more than one person at this house carrying out this job. I believe that their motivation was homicide. I don't believe it was burglary. I don't believe it was ransom. I don't believe it was anything other than them being most likely paid to take out this lady. Why? We don't know. Could it be from work? Could it be an ex-lover? Could it be a jaded employee? Could it be a jaded, family member, distant family member? It could be all the above. We don't know. We don't know, right? I'm trying to play this out, and it's hard because we have so many moving parts, and because there's a possibility of it being multiple people, singular persons, and other things. So I believe it was a hit, but it could also be a Nancy Kerrigan, Tanya Harding, which was never in the wheelhouse. We've never really discussed that up until recently when we started seeing what NBC was doing to Savannah Guthrie. And I started seeing some of these indicators I don't like seeing coming from a big organization like NBC. I've seen that before. I know what that is. And it was pressure from within. And I thought that that was wrong for them to be pressuring her from within when her mother has been ripped out of her bed by a masked gunman. And so when Hoda started stepping up to the plate, and another one of these lower co-anchors stepped up to the plate, and said, I'll take over. I started realizing, wait a minute. And we started learning that, Savannah had just came back from vocal cord surgery. The rating shot up 12%, which was huge. It looked like her job might be in jeopardy because of that. And then she comes right back to work from her vocal cord surgery, and she's supposed to be going over to the Olympics. And as soon as she comes back to work, within days of her coming back to work, her mother's ripped out of her house in the middle of the night by a masked gunman. Like, that was really convenient. And she was forced not to be able to go to the Olympics. And she was forced to, once again, take time off from the Today Show, putting somebody else in her position. So could it be somebody from her work? You know, that this was the first time we ever entertained a work angle to this case. But yeah, there is an angle that can be had related to her employment. So I had to add a third theory to incorporate this other potential of employment, you know, her job. Somebody from her job, somebody jealous at her job, some, you know, that kind of whole is all encompassing under this new umbrella of the Nancy Kerrigan, Tanya Harding themed theory, right? But before that, if he was a lone assailant, which I think this guy is, I believe he went to burglarize this residence on the 11th, i.e. him not being prepared. He doesn't have face covering. He's got a tool pouch instead of a backpack. He's going in there to burglarize this home. I think he goes in and realizes this lady is in the house, and he leaves. He comes back with a gun. He's prepared now to confront someone. He came back with a full backpack. So that tells me he's got stuff to clean up whatever he's doing or keep himself from leaving a whole lot of DNA. And he's coming back with a face mask on. So now he's coming back prepared to confront a human being. He was not prepared to confront a human being here, but he was on the video of February 1st. He has a mask. He has a fresh gun holster with a gun in it, and he has a brand new backpack filled to the brim. What does all those things mean? In my mind, the way those pieces work for me tells me he came January 11th to rob the home. He found the lady in the bed. He left the home. That means he stood over her. He left the home. And he probably was going to write the home off, but something happened. And he decided, I'm going in there to get her. And I truly believe he went back. And this time he wasn't going there to burglarize. He was going there to sexually assault this lady. This easy prey. He knew he could get away with it. And in 20 days, he got everything he needed to be prepared to breach her home and confront a human being. And that's exactly what he did. So do I believe that he was unmasked here? I'm starting to believe it. I didn't believe it at first. I started to think that maybe it was just the image bleaching out his face. But now I'm starting to wonder, did the FBI blur out his face like they did Michael McKee? I truly believe they blurred out his face like Michael McKee. I really do. I don't know why, but I don't see the FBI willy-nilly getting an image and just putting it right out to the public. They probably got several images and they put out the ones that they chose to put out. I don't know if it was a mistake that Kash Patel put out this photo. This is not on the FBI page. This photo right here is only found as a release by Kash Patel on his private FBI page with X. That's it. It was a tweet. We got this image. And so it makes me wonder, was this letting them know for the assailant? Because the assailant's going to look at this. You're not going to kidnap a woman, most likely murder that woman. God knows what they did to Miss Nancy Guthrie before she lost her life. And you're not going to tell me that you're not going to pay attention to what the FBI is doing, that you're not going to be looking at every single thing you can to find out if they're about to knock on your door. Cut it out, okay? We know the behaviors of of these animals, and there's no way in hell you can convince me that he went into this house, knocked this lady upside the head, made her bleed, took her out of the house, and then says, I'm not going to follow this case. I'm not going to look at what the FBI is doing. I'm just going to go on with my life and act like none of this ever happened. That in my mind, it doesn't work that way. This person has absolutely seen this. So it makes me wonder if this was put out on Kash Patel's channel in an effort to let the guy know they knew he was there on the 11th. Because every time I blow this one up, this is such a blurry image. But yet all of the other images there at that front door are so pristine and clear. But this, have you looked at the quality of images on one and the quality of image on this one? It seems like they intentionally distorted the quality of image on this January 11th one. Why? Because I believe this is critical evidence. And I believe that this goes to the integrity of the investigation, and they don't want the assailant knowing how crystal clear or how cleaned up this image has gotten for them. But I'm almost willing to entertain that this is a mask-free assailant. A mask-free assailant. I don't think he was prepared on January 11th. He became prepared. I think this all supports my theory. I really, really do. I truly believe this supports my theory. I want you guys to hear this and see this, because this kind of goes into the theory of the manipulation of the photo, okay? Again, they never admitted to manipulating the photo, but I want you guys to hear this case. This case has just happened. We don't hear a whole lot about this because the family, this is just sad. We'll have to go over this. But this case right here is so quiet. The family, the friends, nobody wants to disrupt the prosecution of this animal. So they're not opening their mouth. They're not putting their hands on the scales of justice. They're letting this take its course, but they've done everything right. Even law enforcement, they did everything right. They knew who they were going for. They did their job, and they got their guy.
A major update in the murders of a Columbus couple. 11 days ago, Columbus police found Monique and Spencer Tepe dead inside their home in the Wineland Park neighborhood. Tonight, Columbus police tell us that Monique Tepe's ex-husband, Michael McKee, now faces murder charges accused in their deaths. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Colin Dorsey. Now, since this happened, December 30th, police asked for any video or photos which could help them piece together what happened. Then, police got a hold of a surveillance video changing everything. 10 TV's Chris McFarland joins us live from Columbus Police Headquarters with the latest.
Colin, we know that this case has gained attention nationwide, and it took a major turn 11 days after the murders. Now, records say police were able...
I want to tell you it didn't take a turn 11 days, because one thing we did learn is they discussed this. And so they already had, before they released this camera to the public, they already had Michael McKee under surveillance, under radar. They had already followed him back to his car. They already knew who they were looking for. So I just want to put this out there. They knew all this information when they released this image telling the public, we don't know who this subject is. Can you help us identify him? And they were fishing for people to bring up Michael McKee's name. They already had him. They already knew, they already saw him walk back to his car by the time they released this image. I thought that was interesting, because a lot of people believe that when they put some of this stuff out, which they do, sometimes they put images out to try to find out who the person is, but it's my understanding that they already had followed this man back. They already had a tag plate going back to Michael McKee when they released this image, this video.
Able to identify the ex-husband, Michael McKee, through that surveillance video, ultimately leading to an arrest. 39-year-old Michael McKee was booked into jail on Saturday. He's charged with 2 counts of murder in connection to the deaths of Monique and Spencer Tepe. Monday, investigators released this video showing a person walking in an alley near the couple's home in Wineland Park. The first piece of digital.
And the lines only went into the video. Like they scanned this video and they put the lines right where his head turned. The lines weren't through the face the entire time of the video. They showed up right as he was turning his face. That's how I knew that the image had been manipulated by the feds or by law enforcement before it was released. And I remember, if you go back to those original videos, you'll hear me in real time saying, oh my gosh, they put lines through his face. And I'm like, they distorted his face. You can hear me say it right there live. So I remember this, and whenever somebody sent me these images of this, the January 11th image of the guy possibly not having face covering, I'm like, they blurred his face. They blurred the entire image. Because you look at the other images, and it's just not the same quality, but we're meant to believe that it's from the same camera, you know?
Digital evidence shared with the public. On Friday, Columbus Police Chief Elaine Bryant addressed the video.
We released a video of the person of interest that we're looking for, the person that we know that was in the area at that time.
According to investigative records, that person walking in the alley is believed to be McKee. Detectives say the video links him to a car seen arriving shortly before the shooting and leaving moments afterward. The car was later located in Rockford, Illinois, where police confirmed McKee was the registered owner. Records show McKee holds a medical license in Illinois. Divorce filings show Monique Tepe and Michael McKee ended their marriage almost 9 years ago.
Almost 9 years ago. Almost 9 years ago. And so, like I said, when we got this image and we blew it up, you could see the lines through the face distorting the image. And so now we've got this at the front door. Is the guy, and I don't think he's clean shaved because I don't believe he had a full man shoe whenever he, made it back 20 days later. So we got to put some hair on this man's face. But, is this kind of the angle that we're seeing at that front door? I'm starting to believe it might be that we're dealing with, he knew the camera was there. And if you guys remember, do you guys remember this one? Let me pull that statement back up again. Brian Enton and the neighbor. I want you guys to hear this because this is what creeps me out. This is what creeps me out. Where's the big? Yeah, here it is.
Slowly, and when he walked by this street, he really took a long look.
Okay. Okay. So the reason why I'm bringing this up again is because of this. What we potentially see out there is a man with a hat really low on his face, right? Why is this so important? Because when you come over here, listen to how she's describing. Now, mind you, the assailant, this is the same day that we see that hazy video. This is January 11th. She's talking about seeing this guy on January 11th. That image that we just looked at was from January 11th. So this is all the same day that she's describing. Let's listen to how she describes the assailant.
Although his hat was way down, and I think I can open up this one too. And
okay, 5 seconds.
With them. So this is my window that I'm getting ready in the morning, and I saw him out there. So I couldn't make out his face, although his hat was way down, and I think I can open up this one too.
Okay.
See, since we have all this stuff going on, I have...
His hat was way down. So now we have a woman describing a man in street clothes with a hat and the hat way down. And we are seeing images from the, we are seeing images from the FBI that have this distorted affect to them. And when you kind of apply the no mask, but a hat, well, you kind of start seeing more of what your image is. So this is the original photo right here from the FBI. Now, this is a modified photo. These are all modified, these right here, okay? So here's the original, very pixelated, very hazy. We didn't understand why this looks so weird at the top of the head. And now it makes sense because it's a baseball cap, not a ski mask. So that's why it looks so weird at the top of the head. Much different than when he comes back with the ski mask on. So are we physically seeing a photo of a man that has a bare face? And I truly believe you can see a shadow right here. And it's a hazy, darkened shadow. And it makes you wonder if that's a goatee or a mustache. In 2 weeks, can a man grow a lot of facial hair? In my opinion, depending on his genes, yeah. I've seen a man have to literally shave 3 times a day. He shaves in the morning, by the afternoon, he's got a shadow. And many of you guys might know somebody just like that. So if you got a shadow that day after freshly shaving, you add 20 days, yeah, you can have a beard and a mustache. But I truly am starting to really hone in on the 11th because like I've been talking to all of you guys about now for, now that I'm starting to get some clarity, now that I'm starting to finally get, a grip on what the information is in this case and what's reality and what's not. And we start comparing some things, bouncing from what this lady said happened on the 11th to what we're seeing in the image. Could this be? She was talking about a hat. Could this explain everything? Does law enforcement know what this man looks like? Have they tried to enhance that photo? I would hope that they have, but you know what? There are so many balls being dropped in this case because of the infighting. They're too busy beating each other up that they're not on their checklists. Like, for example, you would have thought that day 1 or 2, they would have been checking those storm drains in and around her property, but they waited 2 weeks before they started checking the drainage, the storm drains and popping those caps off in the road. We don't even know if they stuck a drone down there or an unmanned craft to go through all of their storm drains and sewage lines and stuff like that. Did they check? Did they check all of the wells out there? Are we sure she didn't get dropped or dumped into an inactive well? Is there septic tanks? What about septic tanks? There's always a cap on a septic tank. Did she get put in a septic tank? As disgusting as that is, they need to find a way to dispose of a body. And I appreciate Elizabeth Smart, giving us a little, hope of her being alive. But being a teenager or a young kid and surviving a kidnapping and being out there is much different than having all these medical issues, needing medication to survive and not having that medication. It's a much different avenue. And there, in my opinion, there is no way that somebody could keep Miss Nancy Guthrie alive this long. I just don't believe it. Without them being a doctor with a pharmacy at their own home, I don't see where she's going to survive this. By now, the FBI should have a profile to share with it. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think Jennifer Coffindaffer has been kind of beating that same drumbeat. in all fairness, because she's been, I know for a while now, she's been saying, where's the profile? She was one of the first people that brought to my attention that the FBI should have this profile by now, you know? But what do you guys think about this? This is pretty shocking, you know? But it kind of fits a little bit. Like, I kept looking at that. I kept thinking that the head looked odd. The head looked odd. The head looked odd. But now seeing the baseball cap on it, it kind of explains the oddity at the top of the head. Because one of the things that I noticed, one of the items I noticed the most about the assailant on the first is that he had a dome. Like it was a melon. And if you guys don't know what a melon means, it means it's a bubble head. Like it's a bubble head. Like he had a melon. And so we had a nice curve. This up here, it's kind of like, you know, weird. It's like boxy, but it could be from the, you know, the baseball cap. So this is starting to fit a little better for me as far as why the top of the head seemed distorted for me. But it makes me wonder, how are we not further along in this case? How are we not further along in this case? It seems to me we have an assailant that did not wear a facial covering. We have the next time he came there, or, you know, was visible on the camera, we see what appears to be a vehicle behind him that law enforcement refuses to discuss. I absolutely believe they know what kind, make, and model that vehicle is. And don't tell me that they didn't see that back there. Because if all of us see it, I know for a fact the investigators see it. Yet the investigators have been related to a vehicle. We know that there is no way that Miss Nancy Guthrie walked away from that home, even assisted. They would have had to load her up into a vehicle. With it, all the vehicles around there and seeing the quality of some of those vehicles in some of those areas, there's no way they don't understand or have a clue what the vehicle is. I don't believe that. And if they still to this day have no idea what the vehicle looks like, well, then they're doing a piss poor job. I saw the vehicle when it came out immediately, as others did. I feel like the SG message yesterday, she knows who did it and she's speaking directly to them. That's the way I felt too, Lake Life. That's why I said in my video, does she know who she's speaking to? Because it seems like she knew, and it was because of this comment right here. Let me find her statement.
This out.
I'm coming on today with a very specific message.
First of all, she says a very specific message.
It has been months since our mom was taken from us. Our family is in agony. We are in a nightmare that will not end. Nothing about our situation.
Oh my gosh, I just realized I never made my point on the other topic I was talking about because it's about to come up right now. We'll have to circle back.
Has changed. We have done our part. And we will never stop looking for her. We will always ache for her and feel that hole in our hearts. The world can be a cruel and unforgiving place. And I know that you have tried to do things the right way.
Okay, so the cruel and unforgiving is not her, the world to her. She's speaking to the assailant. So she's saying, I know that the world has been unforgiving to you. That sounds very specific.
The right way. So I'm asking you. The world can be a cruel and unforgiving place. And I know that you have tried to do things the right way. So I'm asking you, begging you, to do the right thing now. Make the right choice. Help us find her. Tell us where to look for her. I truly believe it is never too late to do the right thing.
So does she know who this person is? I don't believe this person is related to her. That I can say. Again, it's just my opinion. But I truly do not believe this person is related to her or her family. So how did he come to know of this home and be in Nancy's world? That needs to be the next question. Was it dumb luck? Was it just because he wanted to burglarize this house on January 11th? How did he come to know of this home? What made him target this home? Surely related. I don't think they're related, because every time I see this person, he seems Hispanic to me. This is a very white family. I look at that. I've looked at the images. I've looked at the eyes. The person, unless they have some Hispanic in their family, I don't think that this is family. The person, to me, when I look and I blow it up, the eyes, the eyeballs, the skin around the eyeballs. Now, granted, it's a black and white video, but it looks Hispanic to me. It doesn't look Persian. It looks Hispanic, or somebody with a Hispanic or maybe Greek heritage. That's what it looks like to me. That's what it looks like to me. And you know what? Both of those are in my family. I have a side of my family on my mom's side that's Greek. And I've got half of my dad's side of the family that's Hispanic. So these are, nationalities that I'm very familiar with. So just to put it into perspective, why I kind of believe it. Now, everybody's going to kind of believe their own thing, and for each their own. I'm not here to convince you. I'm here to give you guys information. But I have my own opinions of things, myself, with the information that I'm following. So you've got to build the case for yourself, not for me. And, there is that. Okay, I think that was it. I think that's really it. That's really all we have is this. But it's very important, because this lady here saw a man in street clothes with a hat pulled down over his head, hired them. I get that, but I think that's been exhausted. You cannot have a hired hit without communication, without transfer of money, without some type of paper trail of some sort. That's why most of these hits have always been garnered. Here, I'll show you guys another one. I mean, when it's a hit and it's a family, we just had one this morning. I pulled it out because I didn't want to cover it. But we'll open it right now and we'll discuss this hit aspect of it. Here it is. So even the hits, there's trails. There's trails. So here's one where a family member absolutely did hire a hitman. So a man accused of hiring a hitman to murder wife's ex in front of his young daughter, and they were successful for it. So this is Jared. He was well known. This is his ex-wife. She obviously didn't want to fight with him over money and wanted to keep her daughter. And this is her new beau. They hired a hitman to take him out. And he was murdered, gunned down in front of his 2-year-old child. There behind bars. It was a very easy case to close. Why? Because it was obvious. Just like if it was the family member of this lady, it would have been obvious, but they went through their life before they went through anybody else's. So in 2022, a Microsoft exec, Jared Bridgman, had just dropped off his twins at his ex-wife's house in Jackson Beach, Florida, when he came upon a tire in the road. When he got out to move the tire, he was fatally shot while his 2-year-old was in the car. Now his ex-wife, her husband, and a man they allegedly hired to kill him are facing trial in connection with the death. And it took them a year to build the case to start making arrests, so that can give us some indicators here. You know, we're 6 months in, and they weren't able to make an arrest until almost 13 months after this happened. The Florida man accused of hiring his tenant to murder his wife's ex-husband in 2022 has had 2 charges dropped, but still faces trial for first-degree murder and allegedly arranging the killing. During the hearing on Monday, July 27th, prosecutors announced that Mario Fernandez Saldana, 38, is no longer charged with conspiracy to commit murder or child abuse in connection with the death of the Microsoft exec. Bridgen, 33, was shot multiple times at close range on February 16, 2022. And I just want to present this to you. That's all I just want you guys to have all the information, because this stuff is obvious. When it's a hit and it's hired, there's communications. There's, communications back and forth. No comparison. This is planned and cases. It's not obvious. If it was obvious, it'd be obvious to me. I've been doing this for a very long time, and it's not obvious. You've got to have motive, means, and opportunities, not just suspicion. And so far, you have not presented anything but suspicion. Listen, if it was over money, show me where they're having financial problems. Everybody can say they're having financial problems, but nobody can show me that Annie and Tommaso are having financial problems. Not one person can show me that. They just purchased a house a year before this happened. That doesn't sound like a family that's struggling with finances. It doesn't sound like, because if you've purchased a home, Lady Shore, I'm not sure if you have or not, but if you have purchased a home, it's very difficult, especially this day and age, to purchase a home. You have to have money and credit to do that. You can't just go out and have, $40 or $50 or $100,000 in gambling debt and think you're going to walk and get a mortgage for a home. It just doesn't work like that. So everything that's been presented in this case that points to the family has been resolved by reality. And while the statistics do support a family member potentially being involved in this crime, the higher number of percentages and statistics, and I'm not arguing with that, I just want you to have all the facts, is predominantly acquaintance, not family. So it's almost 60% more likely to be murdered. An elderly lady living alone is more likely to be murdered by an acquaintance. That means like their painter, their handyman, their cleaner, their pool guy, somebody like that, an acquaintance to them, more so than a family member only being 23% likely to be the contributor of a death of an elderly person living alone. It's mostly their associates and or companions. So just to give you a little bit, it's easy to point the finger at family, but in my opinion, this family has went through the meat grinder and nothing has stuck. At this point, there should be some meat on the bone for the family, and there has been zero. So that's why I don't believe the family's involved, and it's not clear to me because of those reasons. Usually at this point, and usually in cases where people are violent, you have those tendencies. You see a history of some type of violence or domestic violence in their history. None of this family has any of those indicators there. So it's going to be hard to take somebody that's never committed a crime and never been violent a day in their life to all of a sudden now want to murder their mother. That's a stretch. I mean, how would you feel if this was your family and your family, and your family would never hurt anybody? You see a mass gunman that isn't anybody in your family, yet the whole world believes you and your family are responsible. How do you overcome that? What would be the defining factor to overcome for people to move past the family when they've been cleared? Law enforcement is not looking at this family. at all. And I think that people that continue to look at this family are going to be let down in the end, and they're going to have to learn. And I hope, Lady Shore, when the proof is in the pudding, you take this experience, you find out where you made the mistake, and you adjust for the next true crime case. It's all about learning, and I know you don't believe me, but I'm absolutely confident, and I mean confident, that the family, the Savannah, her husband, Annie and Tommaso, and Cameron and his wife have nothing to do with this. I'm one of the first people that will drag a family if I think that they are responsible and we have evidence to support that they are responsible for something. There has never been anything in this case that supports that other than a whole bunch of people's suspicion. Not one scintilla of fact in 6 months has ever supported that. Not one scintilla. And lady, you're more than welcome to send me anything that supports your claims. But I think what you will find out is all you have is speculation. There's no facts. The facts are she went to their house. They dropped her off at home. From there, what do you think? You think Tommaso went in there and just bludgeoned her in the head with a freaking hammer? I mean, please make this make sense. Play the tape through. Play the tape through. And if you want to, and I'd like you, because maybe I'm misunderstanding you, because you got like so many sentences here, but maybe send me your synopsis by email, bullhornbetty@gmail.com. Maybe I'm missing something, and you only get so many characters for each line. So send me why you believe it's them, and let's look at the facts. Facts. What facts do you have? Well, I have the fact that they've never been in trouble. They've never been violent. They do not have financial problems, which everybody was alluding that they did, and I have proof of that. Where's my proof? They got a mortgage. They got a mortgage a year ago. Hardly evidence of financial problems when you can get a mortgage for a property. Because when you have financial problems, what goes with financial problems? You probably can't make your payments. Therefore, you have a low credit score. How can you get in a home and get a mortgage with a low credit score? These are things that are supporting my positions. And granted, it's not somebody saying, oh, they're not having financial problems, but you have a trail to follow. So I'm asking, that's the facts I have. I have a trail that is very factual, because there are no bankruptcies in their history. That is a first indicator of financial problems. We do have some people, Linda believes that it's TNA. I think people are being misled. I think when things are hard, everybody goes to the path of least resistance, even the people in true crime. You guys want it to be Annie and Tommaso because it fits so perfectly in your world. This is not a perfect case, otherwise it would be solved. This is exactly the problem that everybody had in the Idaho 4. That's why I keep bringing up the Idaho 4. Because everybody was so distracted by all their friends that they couldn't see that it was somebody that had nothing to do with these people. And even when I was on this channel telling you guys you're looking all in the wrong places, it was easier to be mad at me than to acknowledge that you're looking in all the wrong places. And I'm absolutely confident that we're going to find out that I'm accurate in this. I'm accurate in this because I look at so many other different angles in cases than just the obvious. I look at people's history. I take a deep dive into their background, not just here, but like Annie and Tommaso, I've looked at everything. I've went to federal courts to see if there's any bankruptcies or anything that indicate this financial angle, because just like many of you, I thought maybe there is possibility of this being there. The fact is she took an Uber to her daughters. So does a million other people in America. The fact is she took an Uber to her daughters. I've taken an Uber to my friends. I have a car right out there. What does that mean? I'm still here breathing. What does taking an Uber anywhere have to do with it? No fact of a thing since. I don't need to speak to Chris McDonough. I don't think Chris McDonough is pointing the finger at Annie and Tommaso. I really don't. He may be alluding, just like we have, the reality is they were the last ones to see her alive before the masked gunman. I mean, the reasons why they were initially looked at, I'm not disputing, and I've never disputed, and I've told my audience many times, I understand exactly why they looked at Annie and Tommaso. It would be malpractice not to look at Annie and Tommaso. They were the last people to see this lady alive. But the fact that she took an Uber to her daughters means squat. I guarantee you ask people in our chat, there's at least 15 people. How many people we got in here? We got almost 400 people in here. I guarantee at least 15 or 20 people in here take Ubers to friends or family's houses. That means absolutely squat. If that's a crime to take an Uber or a Lyft somewhere, nobody would use them. That doesn't make any sense. The lady has mobility issues. She was going over there at night. I don't know any little old lady that's going to be trying to drive her car home at 10 o'clock at night. Well, why didn't the family come and pick her up? We don't know. Maybe they were busy. Maybe Tommaso wasn't at home yet and Annie had her hands with all the food and couldn't go pick her up. And she's like, don't worry, I'll just take an Uber. I take an Uber every Sunday over to my church friend's house. I'll just I'll take an Uber there. You guys can drive me home after it's done. How many of you guys have ever done that before? I know I have. Okay, well, whatever. You're right. Agree to disagree. I'm done going down this rabbit hole with you. You've taken enough of my time. Believe what you want. I appreciate your viewership. I think it's wrong. I really do. I think it's wrong on a whole bunch of levels, but more importantly, I can tell you guys one thing. Law enforcement is not looking at them. So if you guys are still looking at them at 6 months out, then you're missing all the facts. That's just my opinion. Take it for what you will. Take it for what you will. I would hope that many of you guys would broaden your horizons. I've got several different theories. Why? Because there's not enough here. I have never used an Uber. I have used an Uber like it's going out of style. I love Uber. I take Uber a lot. No, in fact, he dropped her off and left. It was TC alone. So now every son-in-law that drops their mother off at home is a murderer. I mean, that's where we're going with this. I know a lot of son-in-laws that take great care, including the late Tony Mathis. Tony Mathis took care of his mother-in-law very well. And he's the one that called me with the, I can't believe people are blaming him for dropping his mother off. That's exactly what I would do with my mother-in-law. He called me up to tell me that before he died. So if that was the fact, if now everybody that drops their mother-in-law off alone and they go missing, I guess it's the son-in-law from here on out. Do you have a good relationship with a son-in-law? How many of you guys have a good relationship with your son-in-law? And if you went missing, I'm sure the whole world would think it was your son-in-law, but you'd know in your heart of hearts that it's not your son-in-law. All I'm saying is if there's more information, produce it. I'm sick of the skeptical stuff. We theorize and we speculate on fact. We do not theorize and speculate on speculation. So bring me the receipts. I'm happy to look at them, lady, but I'm not going to engage in any more back and forth with you right now. But you can chat in the chat box with the family. There's people that support your position. I just personally don't. That's all, and it's for a variety of reasons. But here's a good example of somebody that was hired to hit, and they were able to find and get this. Why? Because there has to be money. There has to be communication. There's all these things, and you can't do these things without recording them or having some type of paper trail unless you're doing it 100% face-to-face. And even then, in this society, there's still a trail because you're still on CCTV footage. You're still got the infotainment center in your car. You still have your recording watches. You still have your phone. All of these things that are tracking you that they can get a subpoena for and know exactly where you are. There's only a few ways you can handle this without being caught. That's why if it is, and I do have a theory that it could be a hit, but I don't think the family is the one that did it. Arrest on March 16, 2023 in connection with Bridgen's death. Saladana pled not guilty and will be tried on charges of first-degree murder and solicitation to commit capital felony, online records show. So we've got stuff coming up in this case on August 10th. It looks like we're going to be going to trial. I don't know if they've changed because I didn't really get involved in this case. I heard about this case, but we didn't really cover this case except for like the 5-minute stuff. So the light will shine through eventually. Praying for Nancy Guthrie. Amen to that. We can all agree with that. But it was a great debate. I just don't believe it's Annie and Tommaso. I'm sorry, I just don't. I've never been on board with that on this channel. We've entertained it. We've discussed it, but it's hard for me to discuss topics like even the ransom note. I was the same way with the ransom note. I didn't believe the ransom note, so I wasn't even going to touch the ransom note or talk about the ransom note, and decided to go ahead and run with the ransom note, right? I didn't believe it, still don't believe it. But it's hard for me to go down, topic and talking points when I don't believe the I don't believe I don't believe it is. It's hard for me to talk about Annie and Tommaso as the suspects or subjects of this crime when in my heart of hearts, I truly don't believe it. So just like Luke Daly, Luke Daly, we discussed him originally just as, they raided or they executed a search warrant. They had the SWAT team out there and they did this fingerprint. That was all we talked about with Luke. And then he went up on the shelf and he never came back off the shelf until he put himself in an interview and he had a hurt right hand. And this was something that we were looking for as an assailant with a hurt right hand. And so somebody had reached out to me and said, "Did you see Luke's hand?" And so I went over to that interview and then we brought Luke off the shelf and put him here. But I never went down or jumped down Luke Daly's throat until we had a little meat on the bone. And we did have some meat on the bone with at least Tommaso early on in the case because he was the last person that dropped Nancy off. And I just want to put this into perspective. Everybody thinks it's him because he dropped her off, but yet they're saying that they believe this was a hit. Why would he drop her off and then hire somebody to go and execute her? Why wouldn't he just save himself the money and do it himself? So I don't know. I don't understand the theories, but if you guys disagree with my position, please send me an email explaining your position. Maybe it's just something I'm missing. Maybe I'm not connecting the blocks or agreeing with you because I'm missing a link that you may understand that I don't understand. So send me emails, bullhornbetty@gmail.com. I read them. I digest them. If you talk to people in my chat, they get a thumbs up, or sometimes I even respond to the emails. But when we're debating a topic like this, I'm almost confident that I will respond to you because I'm looking for other alternative suggestions. But I want evidence. I need supporting stuff. Like if you're saying that it's them, why? I need to know why. I need the why. Why? We can't just say it's somebody and start clubbing them over the head without having why. If it's money, why do you think it's money? And where's the evidence that they're having money problems? It's not just about talking about it. It's about supporting the theory. It's about supporting the theory. And that's why I usually have several theories, because we typically don't have the support for one specific theory. Otherwise, we would have that specific theory. For example, Sebastian Rogers. Like, we know that Katie Proudfoot did something to her son. But what? Did she take him somewhere and hide him? Or did she murder him? We don't know that aspect, but we definitely know whatever it was, Katie's involved. Katie is 100% involved. So there's no ifs, ands. The only thing that we have as far as theories is whether he's alive or dead. Right? But in this case, we don't even have enough of that to even develop one specific theory with a couple nuances. Because we don't even have enough to not have 2 or 3 different theories. We don't know if this guy acted alone or in concert with somebody else. We don't know why he went to that house on the 11th and went back on the 1st. There are so many unanswered questions when it comes to this, and all these questions make sense on who it is and what brought that person to the house. I can't imagine. I just want to put this in perspective. And I want you all to think of yourselves and your family makeup. And maybe some of you guys have really piss poor family makeups, and that's part of life. Okay, not everybody has a great family. Some of us has a mixture of good and bad families. Some of us has an exceptionally wonderful family, right? So we don't know. Everybody's a little different in this aspect. But I want you guys to really, really think about you and your family, okay, or you and your relationship. If you have a very, very strong relationship with your mother right now, and you have a family, and your mom visits you often, this is where I'm going to be speaking to you, because you would have to believe that you or your loved one, your husband or significant other, would be capable of murder, because you're one step away from dropping your mother off and being the center of a national case and people looking at you and blaming you and your husband for the homicide or the disappearance of your mother. And I want you to think about how similar you and your family are to this family. And then I want you to think about this. Annie and Tommaso were the ones that had the most contact with their mother. They had a very tight family. When you have somebody and you're accustomed to taking care of somebody and having people over having that person over several times a week, that person missing is hard. It's hard. People are trying to turn Annie into a villain for being the caregiver of her mother. So every single caregiver in this chat room right now that loves their mom or their father, you are one drop off away from being accused of homicide. Even after people witness a masked intruder going into your family's house after you drop them off. Why is it so hard for the world to believe that families of money and power can have real world stuff that all of us have to deal with? I think this is the misconception, in my opinion, of this entire case, that everybody thinks this is different than a normal crime because the family is wealthy. And I think that has distracted a lot of people. Andrew, you completely ignored my email. I get hundreds of emails. What email? If you've come to this chat plenty of times, then you should know that sometimes you got to send an email 2 or 3 times, because if you send it when I'm busy, then you're covered up by another 100 emails when I get back to it. So I've never heard your name. Love always wins 7. Has anybody heard of that person in my chat before? I mean, I see that you are a member, but I don't know how you are a member, and I don't know what your theory was. So I'm not sure how to even respond to that, because I don't know who you are. So I can't even look you up to see if I've read your email or you fell through the cracks. But I appreciate you not being an adult and sending me an email and saying, oh, maybe you misunderstood this, but you want to put bullet points in here telling me I've completely ignored, going out of your way to say I ignored your email. Huh, interesting. No thumbs up or then why the fuck are you here? You know what, when people get under my skin this bad, this is what I do for them. Here. Now you don't have to worry about me anymore. Somebody get that person out. I don't even care if they're a member. We appreciate your support, but thank you, but no thank you. How dare you come to me as seeing as busy as I am and as much as I do around this world and around this country, and you come in here being a coffee club member and come in here with this kind of bullshit. When I've been up at 4 o'clock in the morning to put on a show so I can go and do work in my county. Like, how dare you? How rude. And you say I ignored your email? I can guarantee from this point forward, I'm most likely going to ignore your email. I can guarantee that. I'm probably going to ignore you from moving forward. But I would like one of my mods to go ahead and block this person. Whoever this person is. But since they're not blocking it, I'll go in here myself and block you. Because that's one thing I don't do. I'm over this. If you are a coffee club member, you know not to be rude in this chat. You know better. You know better. Let me find you. Have a great day. Maybe whenever you can hide user from this channel. There you go. Now you don't have to worry about it. Love always. Have a great day. Next time, be an adult. If you send me something and I don't respond, the first thing I would think is that, oh my gosh, maybe Betty got a shit ton of emails. Maybe it fell through the cracks. What I wouldn't do is say that she completely ignored an email when I don't know that to be a fact. I thought that was rude. But now, don't bother talking to me, since you don't know how to talk to me. Since you haven't figured out all this time that you don't talk to me like that. So have a great day. Betty, I don't like it when you get this angry, but I do like it when you cuss because... Corey. You don't like it when I'm calm angry, you like it when I'm angry. Miss Betty, I'm so disappointed that you ignored me. Oh, because I didn't see you. I didn't even see you in the chat until I saw you be the one that booted Love Always, right? Then I realized you were in the chat. So I'm sorry. See, even my friends, even my close friends, I ignore. I ignore. Oh, good gracious. Oh, good gracious. Well, we appreciate you, Seth. We appreciate you. And we appreciate you taking out the Love Always. If you want to apologize to me, you can. But how dare you? If you've been in this chat and you're a coffee club member, you know how extremely busy I am. I don't intentionally or go out of my way to ignore people. And you know what? I've read a lot of emails that I was meaning to bring up on the show. I still have starred in the back of my emails that I still never deleted and still forgot to bring up because I still haven't done my You've Got Mail that we've always done in these type of cases. I haven't even done those. So how do I even know? Maybe the reason why you didn't get a thumbs up or a thumbs down is because I was going to bringing you up on here, but some breaking news happened and it was overlooked. And then the next day we went on a different topic and it just got hidden. Like, people just don't understand how crazy it is out here trying to run these shows and keep people, because we have shows, like I've got 15 shows already percolated, but every time I try to bring a show on, we have some breaking news, and my whole entire show that I thought I was going to put on has been put to the side for me to bring this breaking news show up. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you guys don't know how it's done, maybe get a clue. Maybe run a show yourself. See how hard it is to talk to people while reading chat, or finding constant things to make people, come over here, or having enough to talk 2.5 hours every day, 7 days a week. Why don't you try that, right? Because you're going to find out that it's a lot more difficult than you think it is. And we make this stuff look easy when we're running these shows. Ask Smiley. I bet there's been many days she's ready to hit her head against a hard surface. I'm sure there's many days. So I just, it just upsets me that somebody would come in here and say I ignored them. Like, why would I purposely ignore anybody? That doesn't even remotely make sense. It was stupid to have a hissy fit over. I'm just saying, it was very stupid. And it's untrue. Anyways, enough about me. It's time for me to take my happy butt to the BOCC meeting. Right? Now that I'm good, and I thought we were going to end on a happy note, and here we are, through the show. We're 2.5 hours in. It's 8:10. Man, I got up this morning and rocked it out. Look at that. Makeup, hair, dressed. I'm ready for work. Dressed, and I got to come in here telling me I went out of my way to be mean and ignore somebody I have no idea who they are. I've just picked them up and said, oh, I'm going to ignore this one today. That's exactly what I do. We're gonna ignore this one today, okay, guys? I just twiddle my thumb. I'm gonna ignore you today. I'm gonna ignore you tomorrow, and you in the back. Yeah, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you this week too. I'm ignoring you too. Horsey Love says, I'm sorry I'm late. You're glad you're late. Watch the replay, crew. That's okay. We were cranking it out at like 6 o'clock this morning. I know I'm already tired, and I've got a full day of listening to a bunch of people bitch in a meeting, mostly me bitching. I get to hear me bitching in a meeting. This week I'm going to be speaking. I'm going to be speaking. I think it's either Thursday night. When is it? 29th. I'm going to be speaking on the I'm going to be speaking tomorrow. Well, I'm glad I checked that out. I'm going to be speaking tomorrow. I got a speaking engagement that I'm going to be speaking amongst a crowd of people. So it's going to be really, really interesting for me tomorrow. And I just realized that I do not have my talking points or my bullet points. So I got a lot of work to do because I thought it was going to be Friday and I just found out it's tomorrow. That's the beauty of procrastinations because I'm so busy researching. Love always. Not ignoring. Researching, just to put that in perspective. Not ignoring, but researching. I do want to give a shout out to, who is it that we were debating here? True Love, what was it? No, not Love Always Wednesday. We just got booted because they were being an a-hole. Lady Shore, I want to thank Lady Shore for debating me. Again, it was just, an honest debate. I just don't believe it. I just want to find out from people that do believe that Annie and Tommaso, why? And what receipts do you have to support that? I mean, if it's just your gut feeling that it's them, then just say it. Don't sit here and say, oh, we have this evidence, that evidence, and stuff like that. If it's a gut feeling, it's a gut feeling. I have gut feelings. I tell you guys, I have a gut feeling that, it's wrong or it's right. I don't have anything to support it. I just have a feeling. I don't know how many times I've told you guys that. So if you guys just have a gut feeling, just tell me it's a gut feeling. But if you have something of substance, I want it, right? I want to see it. I want to find out if it's going to change my mind. If this is if this is moving me more into the Annie and Tommaso world, because again, I haven't been part of that world. I never have been. Even if you've been here with me from the beginning of this case, you guys will know from the very beginning, I did not believe Annie and Tommaso was responsible for this. So it wasn't that I looked at it. I mean, of course, I talked about how they were the last person because we didn't have, when we got into this case, we didn't know about the masked assailant at the door. That came later. That came days later. So those first few days, I'm like, guys, I understand why you guys are looking at these people, and that's what I said, but I was just I've never been on that bandwagon. So it's one of those things where, if I wasn't on that bandwagon 6 months ago, I don't see me coming on this bandwagon all these months later without some major significant evidence against Annie and Tommaso that says, whoa, maybe you guys are right. Maybe I'm wrong, right? And then I jump, right? Fatal attraction. I won't be ignored. Hello, everyone. Laura. Careful. I love it when you cuss. I love it when you laugh, Best Betty. All right, Corey. Well, we appreciate you. All right, guys. Well, rock it out with your coffee beans out. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And until next time, please be safe. More importantly, kind to one another. And guys, don't get your feelings hurt if we debate. If you have your positions, you have your positions. But I'm gonna push. I'm gonna push a little bit. You guys know how I am, how I roll. So again, as long as you're not rude to me, I'm not gonna be rude to you. Well, I guess I could come off a little snarky, but that's not my intent. It's just the way I talk. I've been snarky for so long, I don't know how to turn it off. All right, guys, I'm out of here. You have a great day.